Hello, how are you? This is Michelle from Tape and Twine, and thank you. Welcome to my studio, Creative Cottage Studio, as it's known. I am here on this beautiful September day to share a few things with you and to have a little chat and to have my latest episode of Tea with Me. Today's tea is a Lady Grey. And I got this tea from my friend Liz in the UK. I'm almost done the end of her little shipment, and what a delight that has been every month to be able to go into my special box and choose something fun to sip. And it's like having tea with my UK friends at the same time as I film my episodes. So today I'm going to try to keep it short. I'm trying to make my videos a little bit more succinct, a little less scatterbrainy, which is a challenge for me. And today I wanted to concentrate on essentially two things. Every month, Tea with Me usually has a little bit of a chat of things going on in my life and in regards to paper. Also like to recommend a book or two that people might not be aware of that they could maybe get their hands on for either materials or inspiration. Sometimes I'll also do a review or a recommendation of a product and some kind of a share. So this month I am concentrating on this time of year and birds, harvest, and my brand new journal that I wanted to share with you today, my Magpie Journal. So she has been a labor of love, and I will go into that later. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about my book shares for the month. So I'm going to start first with, I usually try to share books that, number one, are not very expensive, because especially if you're going to be using it for material, I like it to be something that's cost effective and will cost you no more than what it might cost for you to get your hands on some beautiful papercraft paper or a paper pad or something like that. The two books today cost a little bit more than what I usually recommend, but if you're using them for inspiration or adding them to your library, I think they're worth it. And also, just by bringing them to your attention, sometimes if you pass them at a yard sale or at a book sale or in a thrift shop, you'll know that they're a great book to have. I've seen other people share books and have looked them up, and then once they were on my radar, somehow I'm able to find them, probably because I know what I'm looking for. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about is something called a country harvest. So one of the things about me, just in my personal interests and hobbies outside of papercraft, is I love to forage. I love to learn what I can eat that comes from the natural world and from the wild. Now, this can be a little bit dangerous and scary sometimes. So I'm very, very safe about it, and I try to stick to things that I know 100% what they are, where they came from, and whether or not they're safe for me to eat. So, but I do enjoy looking for berries and nuts and some flowers and some mushrooms. So this book, A Country Harvest, was printed, I want to say, let's see when it was done. It's an Exeter book from New York City, and it was printed in 1980 and then also, 87. So it was created in 1980 but first published in 1987. One of the things I like about this book is that it's ginormous text. The text is really big, which for people like myself who have vision issues, it's a real blessing to have something like this. So this book is really all about, it has a calendar and it tells you what things you can forage for or plant, things you'll find in meadows and hedgerow and woodlands, as well as country gardens, and what can be eaten and harvested when. And it's a lot of things that you will see in nature, and it has beautiful pages. And this is why, if you're not interested in the content from a reading point of view, the paper is a really flat, creamy paper, and the colors are really beautiful, and the illustrations take an entire page. And this is kind of a big book, so folded in half, it almost might be like a TN size paper. And they're just, you know, on this particular case, like, you could fold right here and that would make a beautiful page. So flipping through, because I don't want to take up too much time, there are berries, there are flowers, leaves, because acorns, you can make acorn coffee, not that I would ever do that. You know, definitely things that we see in the woods around us in America, but I'm sure in the UK as well. Beautiful photos. I love the mushrooms. There's lots of mushrooms in here. Like, look at this. I love this. Actually, a friend of mine gave me a huge parasol yesterday, left it on my front step. So I just really enjoy this book for the content, but it would make a absolutely beautiful book for material if you can find one inexpensively. Now, I looked online, because I always do that before I make a recommendation. I was able to find several copies of this on Amazon used. Hardcover, it was around $12 to $15. But you can also get it in paperback for around 10. Now, I don't know if in paperback version, though, whether it's still this flat, creamy paper or not. But it's definitely one to think about, and I will definitely write it in the box below so you can look it up and see if you can get it cheap around you. The second book I have is called Bird Egg Feather Nest. I'm not sure where I first found this book, but so many of what I love about nature and art are encapsulated here. First of all, there's this plastic cover, which I think people in our world can appreciate just because it's so unique. You know, it's printed on the acetate, which is really cool, and flips over and provides a layer on top of the cover. And it's then got this beautiful cover, which doesn't have the words on it, so if you wanted to use it as a cover for another book, it would just be stunning. Now, inside the book, I would say it reminds me a little bit of like a modern day Edith Holden in the way that it's done. It's kept like a naturalist's diary almost. The pictures are beautiful. It's by Maryjo Koch. And Maryjo Koch actually does a lot of mixed media ephemera type of work as well, which is really interesting that she made this book, and why it appeals to me, I guess, because her artwork is very much in our wheelhouse. So inside this book there are beautiful words and pictures and graphics, and every page is different. There's history, there's artwork, and then there's these whole pages that have collage and are written in like a journal. And this one's a Kiwi, so obviously it's not just North American or UK birds. This is all about hummingbirds. And I'm going to flip from the back forward because it's easier and I don't want to spend too much time on it. But I mean, even just look at these beautiful pictures of the nest with the paintbrush. Oops, sorry guys, didn't mean to hit you. But they have like, you know, really artistic pages full of text and pictures of all sorts of different birds, of all things about birds. Look at the owl page. Isn't that owl page amazing? I mean, think about that in a book. Think about how that would look inside as a page or fussy cut out. That's if you could even cut up this book because it's so beautiful. For me, this is an inspiration book for sure. Not a book I think I could ever cut up just because it is just so beautiful. The bird houses. There's a whole section on feathers, a whole section on nests. I mean, look at that. That's just yummy, yummy, yummy. Look at the nest. And I have some Orioles, and this is exactly what their nests look like. Bowerbirds, and look at this. Aloha. my friend. That's what it reminds me of. Hi, Aloha. Look at the beautiful feathers, pages. It's just an absolutely gorgeous inspiration book. And there's no, like I said, I don't think I could cut this book up. That doesn't mean that you couldn't find an old copy to do so, but I dare you to cut it because I think you would enjoy it so much. So this book, I was able to find used $12 to $15. You can find it sometimes cheaper on thrift books, but they go super, super fast. So on Amazon, you can find it there, and I would look on any other place that you source used books to be able to find this book. Again, it's Maryjo Koch, and it's Bird Egg Feather Nest. And let me just find the year on this. It originally sold for $30 new, so even if you were to get it for $15, you'd be getting it for a deal. So it was published by Collins Publishers in 1994, and then copyrighted in 1998. So not too old, only 22 years old, but absolutely stunning, beautiful book. Okay, so here's the flip through portion of today's episode. So this is my Magpie Journal. I'm not naming it Magpie Journal like this particular book. It's a type of journal in my mind. It's a Magpie Journal. And why magpies? Because I kind of feel like they're my spirit animal. They're talkative, they're gregarious, they're inquisitive, they mate for life, and they can't build a nice nest. They can't keep things tidy. Their nests are a hodgepodge of this and that. And there's some folklore around the fact that they steal little trinkets and shiny things, that they're attracted to them. Now, nature-wise, it's probably been disproved as a myth. But all the folklore and mythology around them, almost every country has a different story about magpies. Some of them mean they're bad luck. Some of them mean they're good luck. They are symbolic in many religious circles. But what I was more focused on was the behavior of the magpie and how it fits in with junk journaling. The fact that it hodgepodges things together, that it's not tidy, that it loves grabbing little things from here and there. I mean, that is a junk journal, isn't it? So my thought about when I think about what a Magpie Journal is, it's basically a journal that gives you great freedom. Freedom to not think it through, to take a lot of those little precious things that you hoard from Happy Mail or that you have from your life and put them all in one place. It's not necessarily a journal that you write in. You could, but in my particular case, I just want it to be like this vault of treasures, little pieces of treasures that I've found along the way that I've put in one place. So this journal came from that inspiration of the magpie and being attracted to shiny things and putting it all together. So the first thing I did was get some public domain pictures that I made into a little DigiKit, which, by the way, is free for you to use, so you can make your own Magpie Journal. It will be a file you can download, and the link will be in the box below this. And there'll also be a companion video out about the same time that shows how I made the cover, because this cover, it's a lot. And I know it's a lot, and it's meant to be a lot. So I have a whole video on just how I kind of did this cover and all the elements of the cover. So I'll try to give you an overview of this book without going into too many specific details, because if I did that, we'd be here all day. Let me just say, this is a chunky book, full of textures, full of tatty things, full of strings. It's not meant to be neat. It's not meant to be technical. It's meant to be freeing. It's meant to be experienced for its textures and for its elements, and to kind of bring you through all the little places you've been and the things you've sort of collected along the way. For instance, this little key, which I got in an estate sale. This frame, which came from an old vintage 100-year-old photo book that I was able to repurpose a piece. This little hat pin, which I got from one of my favorite sellers, auction sellers, he gave me some of these. And just like beautiful numbers and just things that I love, all put together in one place. So this was a like a Bible, not a Bible, but a study Bible that somebody used, and I repurposed the cover because I loved how supple it was, and I loved the patina on it. It was flaking in all kinds of spots, and I was able to seal that so that it doesn't flake anymore, but I love how used it was. I liked thinking about this person who took it somewhere and kept it close to their heart and prayed while they were holding it. And I don't know, there's just something very, I'm a very spiritual person, maybe not formally religious. And I just think there's just something beautiful about prayer and putting yourself in that connective space. So I love that is the cover that holds this whole book together. And there's like this very old handmade linen on it. I have charms. Look at this charm here. I got this at an estate sale. It says K on it, so it's, obviously not even mine. It's a little locket, and when you open it, if I can get it open, it has this little coin inside that actually flips. So it's a locket within a locket with a little Mother Mary in it. And you know what? Religious medallions, even though I'm not Catholic, I was Catholic. I was born Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And one of the things was most dear to me in Catholicism was Mother Mary and the saints. And these just remind me of my childhood, remind me of my grandmother. And I don't know, again, they're a shiny thing. They're special to me. And when I'm flipping through this Magpie Journal, it just kind of brings me that happiness, that feeling I'm looking for when I want to feel grounded. So anyhow, without further ado, I made a tassel full of shiny things, including the end of like a piece of silverware. I picture a magpie stealing that, or an earring, a pearl earring a magpie might steal and put in their nest. I made this little charm out of a stamp, and it's not a magpie. I believe it's probably a mockingbird. But I just thought the colors were really pretty. They went with this, and I basically just made this out of a stamp and a blank and some, trying to think of the stuff I put on top there, the glossy accents. So really fun stuff just hanging off the back that I can continue to add. And this journal is sort of meant to continue to add to it as you get more special things. When I opened the book, this piece was important to me. I wanted it to be beautiful, and I wanted it to be something that I connected with. And I love moon and sun charts, tide charts, so I made sure to put one in the front here. And then this pocket is made by taking pressed flowers from my yard and from the woods around me, and then pressing it between two layers and folding it and sewing it. That way, there's two layers of things. So I don't know if you can tell, like the fern is sticking up above this postcard, but now the postcard's actually hiding the fern. That's because there's two layers. I can go one layer back and get both of those. So I really like that pocket because you can kind of control what you see. And then basically the signatures are made from these old file folders that I found at our recycling center. They were really, really beat up, but I loved the color of them. I love the numbers. Some of them I've put eyelets in, some of them I haven't. They weren't quite long enough to make an equal fold. So at the back of the signature, I sewed it in a way that you can see what's on one side, and then on the other side you can see the back half of what's in there. So it's sort of like a belly band / double pocket, if that makes sense. So let me flip through really quick. I mean, there's just papers and old things from vintage estate sales, like this old flower shop envelope that says mother on it, and I've made a little digital kit with calling cards and made little things to tuck in spots. There's papers and textures and colors and, you know, little metal objects that I liked, like this key because it has a lion on it that I really liked, and this vintage button that I just think is just so cool. And handmade envelopes from book pages and textiles. And I made a long, why can't I think of the name of it right now, snippet roll out of paper, and I just cut a length of it, kind of matched up on the other side with some pieces, an old label from my other business, from a product I made. And then other digi kits from people that I love, like this little eco die thing with a little folder, and inside I'm going to put little things from Happy Mail. This one's from Frukia, and these pieces she sent me, and I love them, and I wanted to put them all together just to remind me of her and that beautiful Happy Mail she sent me. You know, I have old pictures and bottle caps and tags and deli paper that I've stamped on and let dry overnight so that it's no longer, would no longer bleed. Little tiny tags and images I liked, more eco-dyeing digikits. Here's my religious medallions, and I love these little silverware tags, and I might still find a project to use them. But until then, I'm going to enjoy them every time I come here and I flip through. This is one of those CD envelopes. I can enjoy them until I use them. And maybe this is a holding spot for some of my ephemera that I want to use, but I want to enjoy right now. This here is a little bulb pin I got from Angela. She put beads on it, and then I added the little horse charm because I loved horses. I love horses, and I had this, I don't know, from somewhere in my life, and I put that on there. This pocket, which is a CD, just a piece of junk mail that I overlaid, and some more flowers from my yard. Again, I didn't curate anything. I think that's what was so fun about this book, is I just grabbed all the stuff I had been hanging on to that I just really loved and hadn't used, and put them all in a pile and then just spread them out. And I kind of did the signatures first, just as sort of like in this pocket here, I have a spine of a book that didn't make it, and I've just like covered it with wallpaper and lace and made it into a bookmark. I have a letter from my mom. So again, I just took all the things. I took the papers and kind of made the loose signatures on how I thought I would want them. Look at this scarab. I always thought scarabs were really cool, and then somebody gifted me one, so I had to throw that on there. And then what I did is I took that pile of things. I got the signatures loosely together, made the cover, then I bound them in, and then I just started fitting in all these yummy little pieces of paper from my life. This vintage report card holder, and it had a little split in it, so I used some of that tape that I used on the cover. It's a tutorial on Nick the Booksmith's YouTube channel, and it is amazingly fun and useful, and I'll link that below. Some more papers and tags that I've hoarded because I've loved the idea of them or the look of them. You know, I've just taken a little piece of textile and sewn it on so it flips easy with a nice hairpin. Not a hairpin, a hat pin. And then here I just have a little quote with some sewing. And, you know, a lot of the same things we do, you know, pockets and tags, and a little piece of an old quilt that I just wanted to save, and a calling card digi, and, you know, just fun things that I loved. And funnily enough, after I made this little collage on the front of this side of the folder, I found some images with horses and a boy and a girl, and it just fits so perfectly. So this is like, this signature is mostly pockets and places to tuck. So I have like tags that, you know, I've made with, you know, textiles and metal pieces that tuck in there, and collage with stamps and old paper and textiles. the anatomy of a bird from an old field guide that I made into like a little folder out of an old folder, so I can make something out of that with more folders and tags and you name it. And there's the boy and the girl and the horse, and a little charm here. A tag that Sharon at Mad Paper Crush made me. And, I love putting little pieces of happy mail in because it just makes me happy to be reminded of my friends and people I've met throughout this community that have become so dear to me. Frukia sent me a little pouch of goodies. And I hope to use these in other journals, but until then, again, like I said, this provides me a place to really enjoy them before I use them. And, again, just no thought to this, just figuring it out as I went. I have a seed packet from the year that I was born. The seeds are still in there, and forget-me-nots happen to be a special flower to me. It reminds me of my mom, and my first job was at a Buick dealership, strangely enough. And again, just like things I've made, things I've been given. It's almost like a sensory book and a memory book at the same time. This is a digital of a pillowcase that my grandmother had embroidered herself. And I scanned it and reduced it and made it into a flip here. And I just love, turning to that page and seeing that and thinking of her. So everything goes, like anything goes in a Magpie. That's what I love. It can be all the things you love in one place, and all the things that make you feel good to flip through when maybe you've had a tough day and it's just sort of very relaxing to go in. This is another gift I got through Happy Mail. And, pages I like, and, this is a digital from Tracy Fox. It's just a little notepad that I made out of a old journaling, like a journaling card that I got at the beginning of my journaling journey when I would buy them pre-made. So I made it into something else. Another little tag from Tracy Fox. This is some bark from a birch tree and a ticket that I bought, I think through Postal Love, but I'm not sure. And tags and beads, and this is a cloisonne bead that I got at an estate sale, and then this little ruler, which I just think is sweet. And then, out of nowhere in the stack of papers was a Magpie page. So that was really meant to be, because I did not go out looking for this. This kind of just appeared, which is kind of crazy. And again, it's just a collection of things I love, textures and pictures. And this is an envelope that my friend Betsy sent me, and I just think it's gorgeous. So I have all these things, and then at the end I have a document folder that is a envelope that I can get in and put some things in a tuck spot here. And then with the corners, I put in a little note that my friend Sharon wrote me, and I can just tuck that back in and it becomes a tuck spot for this, but I also get to see my note from my friend. And that is my Magpie Journal. I absolutely loved figuring it out and playing with it and not overthinking it. And it was one of those projects where I had a box of all my stuff, and if I had a half an hour, I could work on a page or work on part of the signature. And it was really relaxing and freeing, not having to go on a certain theme and sifting through all these little pieces of paper that I've kept together that have been so special to me. So that is that. If you want more information, put a comment below. Watch the cover video, which should be up now. You can also download the download for free if you want to try your hand at one yourself. And remember to always be on the hunt for some beautiful books. Thank you so much for joining me in September's Tea with Me. Stay safe, and I'll see you very soon.